Twitter tests asking iOS users to cut it out with the swearing, for Christ's sakes. Okay. I'm going to read this out. Twitter is pretty sure you could all be a little nicer. Really? The social media company that's practically synonymous with trolls today announced an effort aimed at making its platform a more civil place. You can't! Specifically, a limited subset of iOS users will be presented with a gentle nudge. Not psychological warfare, it's just a gentle nudge. Okay? Are you sure you want to do that? You sure? You might get banned. Trust me, I'll argue the other side as well. I'm just going to get through this article. I'm skeptical because I don't trust Twitter. Okay, I understand what they're saying and what they're doing. Okay, you can only determine intent and predict future behavior based on past behavior and past decisions. Now, I get that this is hard. I get that these are big problems, but fuck me, this slippery. I do not trust these people to make the right decisions. I just don't. Okay. Specifically, a limited subset of iOS users will be presented with a gentle nudge when attempting to tweet potentially harmful trash. It's fucking what makes Twitter fun. I keep thinking, do you know what? Basically, they've designed an interface with that dumb cunt at that event that asked me why I swore on Twitter. They managed to program that stupid bitch into the app. And do you know why I swear on Twitter? Because people like you tell me I can't. Okay? Okay. Anyway, so it's not exactly clear what Twitter considers to be harmful trash, right? Exactly. And the answer to that is that means their definitions are very broad, very much informed by blue hair, fucking blue check, woke fucks who want to censor everything and everybody they disagree with. That's Twitter's definition, okay? If there is one skill that you need in 2020, well, you should fucking have it already, but if you don't, get it, which is to understand how things like loaded language works, how persuasion works, and how framing works, okay? And also, when you're talking about the difference between theory and application. The problem with critical theory becoming applied, and when I say applied, I mean in terms of law and policy, it is that it is incredibly fucking dangerous. Okay? Now, critical theory has its place as a sandbox, okay? A sandbox of ideas, I'm all about that, right? I'm all about examining power and bias and all of those sorts of things. But when you start turning that into law and policy and apply it, holy shitballs. So when things get heated, you may say things you don't mean. To let you rethink a reply, we're running a limited experiment on iOS with a prompt that gives you the option to revise your reply before it's published if it uses language that could be harmful. Okay? Now, this is something where you need my spidey senses go harmful, hate speech, problematic, those things, because that just it's so loaded now. Twitter is not preventing anyone from sending the tweet in question. So what I'll do is I'll read this in a sarcastic voice and then I'll explain their thinking, okay? I'm going to try and do something a little educational and positive. Again, both things can be true. I can think that this is terrible and fucking revolting and disgusting and also kind of go, oh, I get what they're trying to do, but I don't trust it's not the message, it's the messenger, right? This is an example of that. So importantly, Twitter is not preventing anyone from sending the tweet, okay? Rather, it will offer a dialogue box with the stated goal of making you think hard about whatever you are in the process of tweeting. And only if it's a reply to another tweet. Now, again, I'll explain why that is. So, because if you've watched my previous videos, you'll understand that there are particular patterns that get you suspended. So what I think is that what they're trying to do is actually bringing some transparency to what might be confusing for people because they don't understand why they were banned, which is there's a number of signals that Twitter looks at. And what they're doing is bringing that to the surface and telling you what they did wrong. So again, both things can be true at once. I can hate this and love this at the same time. My two disciplines, which is UX design and tech and politics, are in direct conflict with each other. So I sit here going, as a nerd, this is fucking, as a design nerd, this is fucking amazing and impressive thinking and impressive stuff. As on the other side, I'm like, fucking burn it to the ground. So I'm trying to find the fucking middle ground between those two things being true at the same time trying to reconcile it within my own head. Okay. So anyway, author Chuck Wendig apparently triggered the warning intentionally in response to the news. Language like this could lead to someone reporting your reply, read the Twitter pop-up box. But you can change it before sending. Now, what's also important to note is that LinkedIn already do this, right? So LinkedIn have actually been doing this for about 2 years already, okay? Speaking of burning fucking social platforms with fire, let's look at LinkedIn, shall we? But this is one of these LinkedIn has always had these prompts, right? Especially on the mobile app as well, right? So if I wrote fuckity fuck, probably not on desktop, right? And I'm just because I'm a badass, I'm going to hit post. Well, it posted. Oh, well, whatever. They're used to me. But no, I was just, anyway, if you're, that was fucking, but usually they would, on the mobile app at least, they did run these experiments before. And obviously they seem to have turned it off. So it will be interesting to see, because I think most people just went, well, no. Also, I'd like to note my problem with LinkedIn. They do not even have, you want to talk about fucking corporate culture and psychological manipulation? You cannot laugh on that platform with a reaction. Is that not everything you need to know about fucking HR-driven corporate culture right there? Oh my God, don't get me started on these fucking HR people. HR are the corporate cops and they are the corporate army. Like, seriously, they're just fucking henchmen for fucking surveillance. Anyway, I mean, how far from Soylent Green is people is human resources just as a fucking industry? Anyway, we started. Sidetrack. So this is interesting. So, want to revise this. Language like this could lead to someone reporting your reply, but you can change it before sending. So what's interesting here is that what they're doing is putting in plain sight to the user all of the processing that they would do without showing you. Okay, so let's say when we talk about, the thing that got me suspended, which was the, at real Donald Trump, send nudes, that got me a 12-hour suspension. Basically what this is it's just letting you know that you've been flagged. Okay, so that I can see is actually a good thing because it gives people a chance to sort of rethink, especially the fact that they've limited it to replies, because that seems to be a specific pattern. That's why I don't get much fucking grief, because I don't engage in, I just don't do that kind of thing. I don't reply to people calling them names. It's just not really my style. I talk about concepts and in the general, and I will definitely subtweet you. And definitely quote tweet from time to time if you're a particular grade of cunt. But at the same time, I think that this, again, both things can be true at once, which is that you can find it kind of creepy, and then you can actually go, I like where they're going with this. So, because they're doing it anyway. The point is that they're doing this anyway, okay? A lot of the suspensions that you get, a lot of those, especially replies. So a reply has a particular pattern to it. I was talking about this before, where you've got certain keywords, right? If you go with a fucking spider and a gender critical, I'm a fucking TERF, men, adult, human, female, you got all these signals. You've got you don't have your real name. You've got an account that is new, right? You don't have many followers, and you start replying to people, individuals, calling them men, and then you go, fuck, I'm not surprised. Okay, you look like a bot. And you look like a spammer because they're hard to differentiate, right? What this does is it has two benefits that I can see, which is that, first of all, if it is a bot, okay, they will just push through. But if it's actually a person, then a person might stop and think, okay, which is, well, is it worth it? Is this worth it? And I think I've talked about this before, the behavioral stuff and persuasive design and how that can be used. Big qualifier, big qualifier, big qualifier. It can, when used in an ethical way, right? The idea of the nudge, which I'll talk about, can be used to promote good behaviors. Now, the problem with everything is that there is a good side to this, which is, do you want to promote eating an apple and getting exercise and your Apple Watch rewarding you for standing up and breathing? Okay, that's one example of a nudge in the right direction, which is getting you to do, certain things that are good for you. Okay, and to train you and all those sorts of things. The flip side of that is fucking Candy Crush. Okay, or Waze directing you to McDonald's. Okay, when you drive past a billboard, there's a flip side to those things. I think when I look back on my career, I think I underestimated. I knew that the capacity for the misuse and evil was there. I just had no idea just how fucking mainstream it would be. I thought that the unethical practices would be outliers, that they would not be the mainstream. The ethical UX designers seem to be the ones that, like myself, are the ones that seem to be sidelined. And that's the thing that I got wrong, which was that I have a tendency to be an idealist about people. So according to Reuters, the test starts today. You get the gist of this, okay? Okay, let's talk about nudging, all right? Okay, I tried to find something that was nice and easy. This one is a good article. I refer to it frequently if I want to explain it to other people. But basically, let's look at the graphic. I'm not going to go into fucking dry detail. You can call it choice architecture. There's a number of different fucking words for it. It's cross-discipline. It's something that has been studied in economics, politics, marketing, and usually, like anything, good terms that come out of philosophy, economics, and politics, marketing takes them and fucks them and makes them evil. Okay, that's what's happened here. Which was that I was excited about the political potential for fucking the greatness of the internet, freedom, free exchange of ideas. That's so cute. We're so young. The free exchange of ideas, building relationships, building networks, building communities that aren't limited to geography. And so for me, someone who has been limited by geography my entire life, being in a redneck fuckwit town, I wonder why they don't like me. Because I call them redneck fuckwits, probably. Not all of them. Not all of them. Just a lot. I am a nice person. I promise. Like I said, I've just opened some old wounds this week and I'm feeling a bit pissed off about it. So anyway, what is a nudge? So a nudge is fairly, it's fairly neutral in its own way. So like psychologically speaking, it can be used equally for good and equally for bad things. Now, unfortunately, marketers have started to use nudges in a really unethical way. In tech, think about Candy Crush, right? That addictive, that thing that like sort of thrives on that same thing that gives you that dopamine rush. Twitter and Facebook, it's basically the same thing, except it's likes, retweets, engagements, influence rather than literal money, right? And literal rewards. It's just fucking social ones. So what nudges do is that they they nudge you in a certain direction. So what they do is they rely on the fact that we're generally stupid beasts, right? We cannot possibly take in every potential factor when we make every potential decision. Something like coffee. Okay, I know that's a stupid idea. I just happened to see coffee. Let's hope this metaphor works. But let's take coffee, right? Think about all the choices that go into this cup of coffee. What we do is we rely on habit and we rely on what's available, what's easier and more quickly available to us. Okay, and what it does is nudging, right, in its purest form, it can cause you, it pushes you in a certain direction and utilizes our biases and our propensity for or our tendency to rely on habit, our tendency to rely on patterns and those sorts of things in order to push us in a certain direction. Now, you can see how that could be both good and bad. Okay, I've just given you two examples of that. In economics, that's a good, can be a good thing. Obviously, the discipline of economics is very much focused around choice, and philosophy questions whether choice is a thing. Look at Chomsky. Manufacturing consent is actually a really good analysis of choice and how that's actually weaponized in a bad way. Okay, but at the simplest form, as a designer, a nudge nudges you in a certain direction based on certain things. So in the case of Twitter, what they're trying to do is encourage people, well, twofold. Encourage people to be nicer to each other. That's the bigger picture, right? Which sounds a bit fucking creepy and Orwellian. But when you drill it down to the being limited to the reply feature and, all of these sorts of things, that you can see that they're trying to make it both safer for the recipient and the person using the apps, and also prevent you from getting yourself banned. So it's actually quite a good thing. Now, if it was anyone but Twitter, it's just, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about these things. All right. So it causes like a policy shift, or it's an encouragement. It can help you to make better decisions, but it also can help you to make decision making easier. Okay. When you think about every single purchasing decision that you make and every little choice that you make in between, you're being nudged. Okay. Some people are more prone to research than others. I don't. I just go, okay, reviews. Like social proof is a good example of something that can be used to nudge people, right? Making decisions, especially when we don't have information, is really taxing on us and our mental health. And so, so there are different types. You've got a mindful nudge, a mindless nudge, an encouraging nudge, and a discouraging nudge. So there's a lot of psychology behind that. In parenting, if you've ever had a puppy or a child or a man, you use a series of positive and negative reinforcements to encourage or promote the behavior that you want. Okay. A big part of what fucked me off about working in marketing, right, all these years, was when I saw what Waze had done. Waze went from an open source mapping tool to something that nudges people contextually to go get McDonald's. Okay. And I just went, that's not right. That's an example of an unethical nudge that nobody, and the problem with this is that no marketer was fucking questioning it. They were celebrating it. And that's the thing with Google as well, with Street View, and that, they own all of the data and they can use it the way that they want, and they're nudging us in a certain direction. Those sorts of things. They're using them. We use them every day, right? And unless you're aware of it, on my website, I've got a pop-up that says subscribe to my email list, right? That's a nudge. That thing right there, okay? That thing. It's a nudge to check me out. And maybe you might fucking go to Patreon. You might do that. You might subscribe. You might be more interested, right? They're all little nudges that go, okay, like and subscribe, okay? They're all sort of promoting you to do something that, Anyway, that's not really what nudges are, but I'm just trying to explain it to an ordinary person who doesn't understand this stuff. So they rely on different types. So you've got automatic thinking, okay? So it's the type of thinking where the brain doesn't have to apply too much. So a lot of this is very emotional. It's really just pattern memory. There's like a default position, okay? So most people today care about their image in society, okay? So that's where what I was talking about before with social proof and all of those things. Being banned from Twitter is not a good thing. We all care about how we look in the eyes of others and those we love, and our self-perception of who we are as a person and those sorts of things. Being permanently banned from Twitter would definitely impact you, because you then are in the out group. Okay, you are that. For those who value their Twitter account, like I do, I will do anything to keep it, right? And I also don't want that perception. Right? Some people think it's funny. I don't think it's very funny. I do actually get affected by things like my brand yourself, because I do actually value myself as a business owner, and my reputation does matter to me. It doesn't matter when it comes to stupid shit, but at the same time, that pressure does actually have an impact on me. So they do it. The influence. So an influence nudge is an example of why nudges work. So monkey see, monkey do, follow the crowd, right? That nudge. I mean, let's talk about toilet paper, shall we? That was weird. That was very weird. But LinkedIn is very much focused on the following the crowd and the reputational stuff. LinkedIn is actually something I could probably study separately and use a separate example. And it relies on default thought, so automatic thoughts. Okay, so habit, things that rely on our default state and our default sense of self. Okay, so we have different default states, but at the same time, most of us we like going back to our default state as much as possible. So any psychology or any design pattern that relies on that. Okay, and one could argue that Twitter, the default state would be, for most people, being agreed with or getting along or getting likes. That's the status quo, right? It's the conflict is not the default if you are a rational and sane human being. Okay, so what they want to do is get you out of that, into that default safety. It's the bubble, right? The bubble where everyone's agreeing with you and you're being affirmed. Okay, so these all work together. These nudges all work together. Again, you can probably see by now how they're used in both positive and negative ways. Okay, they can be used in. Let me roll back. I'll just talk about the universal drive. So there are several universal drives, right? So, safety, shelter, emotional safety, love, sex drive is a neutral thing in its own right. It's just how it's used. Okay, it's also very dangerous, so it's not benign, but it's where people are driven to take better decisions and display a result of positive reinforcement through subtle changes in policies. So in this sense, policy means your choices. So how you see, do, view the world, okay, and the actions that you take, okay, roughly. So as of now, it finds its importance in the field of behavioral science, political theory, and economics, but it's been weaponized by marketers, and that's the thing, and game and tech companies. Okay, so if you see anything that is gamified, right? If you think about gamification, I always use Candy Crush, but they use it in Borderlands, they use it in Xbox, they use it in everything, right? To incentivize you to buy or make a decision or accumulate, or like one thing, like even just something like the Borderlands 3 events, right? What they're trying to do by time limiting those events is to and attaching it to virtual loot, right, and guns and stuff like that, is by time limiting it, they will get you to log on more so that you can farm more weapons in that period of time, because then they get you on there. Okay, it's just again, it can be used in Fortnite and their chests and their events. Okay, that's something that it can be used. And I've always said that gaming is basically fucking child slot machines. It's the same it's exactly the same hormonal response with a slot machine as with anything else. Okay, social media, marketing, all this stuff. Now, I'm focused more on the UX side of things, because this is where I think it's very important that we start thinking about the ethics of this stuff. Okay, because it is not benign. Now, the Twitter swearing one is a really good example, because I can see from their point of view, okay, what they're trying to do, right? Hang on, my app's not working. I can see from their point of view that they're trying to prevent the situation where you go and get banned and then don't know why you got banned, and they're giving you a series of prompts and opportunities to change your behavior. Okay, so this is just an earlier one before the 12-hour ban. Okay, because after you get the 12-hour ban, you get the 3-day ban, and if you get the 3-day ban, you get the 7-day ban, and if you get the 7-day ban, then you get fucking suspended permanently. Like, there's a process. I think, and again, outliers aside, okay, where it's been shown that individuals have been a problem for Twitter, and Twitter have switched them off because of other reasons. I'm talking about your average user engaging in average political debate who finds themselves fucking suspended and banned. You get a lot of chances. And this is another chance. Okay. So that's all. I think that's what they're trying to do. But at the same time, what we need to do is really think about the potential consequences of this, because this is also, we're heading into social engineering town. The problem with persuasive design is the flip side of that is that it deals with the unconscious, right? Nudges are all about subconscious, right? And unconscious stuff, right? And when you start dealing with people's unconscious and subconscious, we all know the very, very important responsibility and ethical responsibility that psychologists and counselors have when it comes to their patients, primarily because they're dealing with their deepest, darkest shit and their unconscious bias and all those sorts of things. Now, why the fuck a UX designer doesn't have to answer to an industry ethical body? Right? For the same reason, because we are fucking with people's heads. And when you are fucking with people's heads, you have a responsibility, especially when it's something like when it involves, politics and that sort of stuff. Like the potential for this stuff to be weaponized. And again, I've said this is a cult. And again, I'm focused on the woke cult because I'm in the left. And I think that people are largely on the left in my audience. Some people are on the right, but but I need to alert people to this fucking thing because nobody is hearing me. There is a cult that has formed around Robin DiAngelo and Judith Butler where they have taken good ideas that should be in a sociology department, okay, and should be in a sandbox, and they are turning it into a fucking scary thing. And the problem is that they've got this capture that's happening with institutions and tech companies, okay, and this is a problem because, and they're coming after gaming, okay, the canary in the mine, okay, will be gaming, okay, trust me. It starts with the swearing. This is just an experiment. I'm interested to see what it is. I don't know enough about it, but I was just trying to explain. Before people react, fucking free speech, bro, shut the fuck up. Let's get back to the beginning of what I was saying, which is that I can have grave concerns about Twitter, their behavior, their previous behavior. I can have grave concerns about the government and their previous behavior and those things, okay? I can acknowledge that they're doing a hard job, but I can also not trust them. But I can also then defend that they're trying. And that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. I tend to be on the optimistic side of things, and it's been bad for me because we got here. I was at a conference, but no one listens anyway. I often wonder if I did speak up, and I sit there going, well, why didn't you speak up? I did. The conferences that I went to, I did speak up, and everyone's fucking like, no, it's fine. You're just being negative, Taya. Stop being negative. Okay? Don't be negative about our new marketing platform that spies on everyone and gathers all their data. We have no real fucking plan, and let's just hand all our data over to Amazon, who are subject to the Patriot Act. But that's going to be fine. Can't see how that's going to be a problem. Oh, I'm at a bank and I'm excited about the idea of people, us being able to market to them based on life events and also be able to predict when those life events are likely to occur. I can't see anything bad that would happen there. And here we are because no one listened. So good luck. I'm just going to sit here and, I do find it funny though. It is weird. Like we're in the middle of a fucking pandemic with a mutating fucking virus, murder hornets, and there's still fucking people doubling down on fucking whether it's okay to swear or not. But the problem with this stuff is that it doesn't stop with swearing, okay? And what I want to see, and I don't like slippery slope arguments. I think there is a role that this user experience of Twitter has to play in what I said, as long as there's like narrow use cases in the sense that it's a reply and there's a certain set of behaviors. I think they're doing okay. Honestly, the people that find themselves in the show under the show all replies deboosted thing probably fucking deserve it with their behavior. Okay. But I don't know. I don't know if people want me to sit there and explain how this stuff works or not. because it can get dry. And so I'm always in conflict between being funny and being smart and stuff. Oh, but anyway, watch out. And also don't let them go after games. And there's a cult. Please be aware of cults. Please be aware of loaded language. Maybe I should do something on that at some point, so you can spot it better. And framing, okay? It's basically just positioning we learned about this in Year 9 Media, I think. Did you? I don't know. But how you position the reader while they're reading so that they make up their mind. It's another form of nudging them, right? So when they say, comedian and alt-right commentator Joe Rogan, it's like, well, no, they could have just said Joe Rogan. So what framing does is it sets the context, and it just gently nudges you, who's also friends with Ben Shapiro and also this, and here's all his associations, and this is blah, blah. Next minute you've decided that he's part of the alt-right. Okay, that's persuasive argument, and that's what they do. Okay, that's framing and positioning. And there's a number of different techniques that they use to do that. But those are nudges as well. They're nudges of language. So understanding nudging, look it up. I explained it really well. I didn't really. But it's boring. It's like theory stuff. But the idea of a nudge. It's all, just maybe, here we go, as an exercise. Here's some homework. Because I'm giving fucking homework now, apparently. Is to think about when you next time you eat or have do something or visit a website, write down the choices that you're making and see how much of that is automatic and how much of that is persuaded, how much of that is informed by the convenience and the brand and whether there's social pressure to do that and all of that sort of stuff. It's an interesting experiment. But also just when you're using a social media platform like Facebook, have a think. When as you're interacting with it, right? Make the unconscious conscious. Okay, look at the steps that you go to. Okay, like why do I look at the notifications? Most people will go to Facebook. The first thing that they'll do is go to the notifications. Okay, they'll see what happened. They'll scan those notifications to go, okay, all right. Then they'll go through. Have it just. It's interesting. Just pause. Maybe just watch it on, 4 times slower speed. Get outside of your body and observe all of those little interactions. And also understand that my job and the job of others and user experience designers is to actually manipulate all of those. Okay? And judge and get you nudged into that certain direction. Like even something as simple as logo placement, or like there's an established pattern now. But there was a time when that wasn't the case, right? Used to be, when the old days of Flash, you could do whatever you wanted. But, eventually Amazon and Facebook and Google determined what those designs were. And so, I come from a time when there weren't even design patterns. That's how fucking old I am. And I was just making shit in Flash, and it was fun, animating, having fun. But now you don't realize just how reliant on frameworks we are. And those frameworks are predetermined based on research and psychology and observing and breaking down those interactions into tiny little pieces and trying to influence every single one of them. Okay. So make the unconscious a bit more conscious. Maybe that's my job. The next one I'm going to talk about is language, because I'm really interested in how, with the framing. I might do a video on framing tomorrow. I'll see I don't know if I've gotten any good material out of this. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't, but I'm just trying to get stuff out there. I love you. Thank you for your precious life seconds. If you want to pay me and or help me do a book or introduce me to somebody who wants to pay me to do a book, or allows me to sort of gradually decrease the amount of fucking stupid fucking website work that I have to do all of the time, hit me up. Can I need a sugar daddy? Can I get is there anyone rich who's got who can leave me, if they die from COVID, they'll leave me their money? I mean, I wish I could predict that. Anyway, any frontline workers who want to leave me their fucking money? That's dark. Fuck it. If you can't laugh, you're get fucked. Anyway, Speaking of LinkedIn, I just got a message pop up, so I'm probably in trouble. I love shit stirring LinkedIn. I'm going to do a thing on LinkedIn at some point because you want to talk about fucking nudging and psyops. They've been fined so many times for this shit and they are the worst. No, you know what? Everyone talks about how Twitter is bad for mental health. No platform is worse for my mental health than LinkedIn because it is weaponized. It is an awful, awful platform when you start breaking it down. Okay, it's just yuck. Corporate. It's got that. All of that stuff, nudging and crowd following pressure and like swearing filters and not even a laugh react. You can't even joke on there. I mean, God forbid you'd have a joke on LinkedIn in front of a recruiter. Fuck recruiters. I don't want to work for anyone who can't laugh.